Okay, friends, let's talk about how ETFs actually work behind the scenes. Because once you understand the mechanics, investing suddenly feels way less intimidating and way more like something you can actually do. So, you already know that an ETF is basically a basket of investments, right? But here's the part people don't usually explain. When you buy an ETF, you're not directly buying pieces of Apple or Microsoft or whatever companies are inside it. You're buying shares of the ETF itself, and the ETF owns the actual stocks. Think of it like buying a ticket to a concert. You don't own the band, but your ticket gives you access to the whole experience. That's what an ETF share does for you. Now here's where it gets interesting. ETFs are created and managed by big financial companies. These companies go out and actually buy all the stocks that belong in the ETF. So if an ETF is supposed to track the top 500 companies in America, the company running the ETF buys shares in all 500 of those companies. Then they package it all together and sell shares of that package to regular people like us. We get instant access to all 500 companies without having to buy them individually. That's the brilliance of it. But here's the question everyone wonders. How does the price of an ETF get decided? Great question. The price is based on the total value of everything inside the basket. If the companies in your ETF are doing well and their stock prices go up, the ETF price goes up too. If they're struggling and their prices drop, the ETF drops. It's all connected. You rise and fall with the group, which is actually way safer than riding with just one company. And here's something cool. Because ETFs trade on the stock market, just like regular stocks, the price updates throughout the day. You can check it in the morning, at lunch, before bed, whenever. It's live. It's flexible. You're not locked in. If you want to sell, you can sell during market hours and get your money pretty quickly. That's very different from some other investments that take days or weeks to cash out. Now let's talk about the people who make sure everything runs smoothly. There are these players called authorized participants, and they work with the ETF company to keep the price fair and accurate. If the ETF price starts drifting too far from the actual value of the stocks inside, these participants step in and fix it. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to know this is happening. It just protects you automatically, so you're always paying a fair price. Another thing that makes ETFs work so well is something called passive management. Most ETFs don't have someone sitting there every day deciding what to buy and sell. Instead, they just follow the index they're tracking. If the index says these are the top 500 companies, the ETF holds those 500 companies. If a company gets too small and drops off the list, the ETF replaces it with the new company that made the cut. It's automatic, it's simple, and because there's no fancy manager making expensive decisions, the fees stay super low. And speaking of fees, let's be real about costs, because this matters. Every ETF charges what's called an expense ratio. Don't panic, it sounds scarier than it is. This is just a tiny percentage that gets taken out each year to cover the cost of running the ETF. We're talking like 0.03% or 0.2% in most cases. That means if you invest $1,000, you might pay $3 a year in fees. Compare that to paying someone hundreds of dollars to pick stocks for you, and you'll see why ETFs are such a smart deal. Now here's something people get confused about. What happens to the money companies make? If Apple pays a dividend to its shareholders, does that money just disappear into the ETF and you never see it? Nope. If the companies inside your ETF pay dividends, the ETF collects that cash and either pays it out to you or reinvests it back into the fund depending on the type of ETF you own. Either way, you benefit. You're not missing out. Let's also talk about taxes for a second, because I know that word makes people nervous. ETFs are actually really tax efficient compared to other investments. Because of the way they're structured, you usually don't get hit with surprise taxes until you actually sell your shares. And even then, if you've held the ETF for more than a year, you might pay lower long-term capital gains taxes instead of the higher short-term rates. This is just another reason ETFs are beginner-friendly. They're built to be simple and fair. Here's something else that blows people's minds. You can invest in almost anything through an ETF. Want exposure to clean energy? There's an ETF for that. Want to invest in healthcare or technology or gold or even water? Yep, ETFs exist for all of it. You're not limited to just big American companies. You can go global, go niche, or stay broad. The flexibility is unreal, and it means you can build a portfolio that actually matches your values and goals. But let's get back to the basics for a second, because I don't want you to get overwhelmed. At the end of the day, here's how an ETF works in the simplest terms. A financial company buys a bunch of stocks. They bundle them together. You buy a share of that bundle. The value of your share goes up or down based on how those stocks perform. You can sell whenever you want. You pay a tiny fee each year. That's it. That's the whole system. Now, I want to talk about why this system is so powerful for beginners. When you're just starting out, the biggest mistake you can make is overthinking everything and never actually starting. ETFs remove that pressure. You don't have to become a stock market expert. You don't have to read financial reports or predict which company is going to explode next year. You just pick a solid ETF that tracks a broad market, invest consistently, and let the market do what it's been doing for decades, which is growing over time. And here's the part that really matters. The way ETFs work makes it almost impossible to lose everything. Yes, the value will go up and down. Yes, some years will be better than others. But because you're spread across so many companies, you're protected from catastrophic loss. One company going bankrupt doesn't ruin you. A whole sector struggling doesn't destroy you. You're diversified, you're balanced, you're safe. Let me also say this. ETFs work best when you stop checking them every single day. I know that's hard because we all want to see our money grow in real time, but the magic of ETFs happens slowly. The companies inside grow, the dividends add up, the reinvestments compound, and 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you look back and realize you built something real without stressing every single day. So if you've been wondering whether you're smart enough to invest or whether you're doing it right, let me tell you something. If you understand that an ETF is a basket, that it spreads your risk, and that you can start small and stay consistent, you already know enough. The system is designed to work for you, not against you. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to show up. All right, let's wrap this up. An ETF works by bundling a bunch of investments together and letting you buy a piece of the whole thing. The price reflects the value of what's inside. It trades like a stock, so you have flexibility. The fees are low because it's automated. It protects you through diversification. And it grows with the market over time. That's how it works. That's why it's powerful. That's why you can trust it. If you want a free PDF guide with all the basic points to take into account when investing, click the link in the description. And if this finally made ETFs click for you, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe because we're just getting started. You've got this. Your financial future is already looking brighter.